Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo.
Hello and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. I'm very excited for our next guest interview. I have virtually in front of me Danny Shapiro. He is a doctor of physical therapy, and he likes to call himself the muscle whisperer. So get ready. I follow his content for a while now. He definitely brings the energy. He's always educational, so you're going to learn a lot, but he also makes it entertaining and easy to listen to and easy to understand. So I'm super excited to have him here. Danny, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Tony. I'm really excited to speak with you today, really dive into some awesome topics, educate the masses, and just spread some positivity and really good messaging and change people's way of thinking when approaching their pain and bodies and all that good stuff. So I'm very excited.
I love that. Awesome. Okay, well, I'm always curious to know how people got started in their career path. So first question is a 3-part question for you. I would love for you to introduce yourself officially by sharing who you are, what you do, and most importantly, why you do what you do.
So I'm really awesome. That's just, no, I'm joking. So I'm a physical therapist, and actually what got me into therapy itself and why I'm also so obsessed with movement is that actually before physical therapy, I was a professional ballroom dancer for 16 years.
Oh, that explains it. I was like, he just happens to be naturally good at dancing, and he's also a doctor. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I get it.
Just one of those magical life moments just happened to be. But I was dancing since about 4 or 5 years old. I was a United States representative in the international dance space since 10 years old. Former U.S. champion. Movement has been a massive, massive part of my life for the entirety of my life. And in the dance world, dancing is very much understaffed in terms of medical kind of attention.
Yeah.
And in the dancing world, it's like you drink a coffee as your meal, you possibly smoke a cigarette, although I never did, and you pop a couple pain pills and then you dance on. We have 8 to 10 hour days. We compete year round. There's no breaks in the season like there is in other sports. So obviously a lot of people around me were constantly getting injured. And to me, I did not understand why. So that is actually what pushed me out of dancing and into the physical therapy realm to find how can I actually change this really messed up system where people's health are not really put forward as a primary thing to actually think about. You just do the thing, regardless of what your body tells you, and you get the job done. Which is actually what kind of prompted me to now, I made my impact on the dance world, and then I wanted to help other people as well. Yeah. And this is why movement is such a big message of mine. I always preach the message, motion is lotion, movement is medicine. And it doesn't matter who you are, small, big, large, it doesn't matter. Everyone can move or learn how to move without pain and get pain-free, regardless of what size your body's at, and the way that will actually help you to serve your goals and to move you forward.
Yeah. Oh my God. I can't wait to get into this. Okay, so let's just jump right in then, because I think there's a big misconception about people will get diagnosed with knee pain, for example, and it's like the doctor will tell them they need to lose weight, and that's the way that they're going to relieve their knee pain. Is there any truth to that? Is a pain and weight associated? And what would you say to that person who has been told that?
Right. So there's a 2-part answer. It's a yes and a no. Now I'm going to make sure I'm very, very clear here. So I don't think that you need to lose weight to be pain-free. That is not something that when someone comes to me in a larger body and they have knee pain, I'm not saying, we got to lose some weight here before we even talk about getting you pain-free. Now, that is ridiculous and utter nonsense BS. Now, the why there's a yes involved is because whether you're in a larger body or in a smaller body, your mechanics in terms of how you move drastically can change. Or not drastically. Even if by a little bit your body mechanics change, that will automatically change how you walk, right? How you climb stairs, how you get in and out of chairs, right? Seemingly simple, straightforward, functional, day-to-day activities can change if your body loses or gains weight, which is why there's the yes attached, because if your body mechanics change without your awareness of them, that can actually trigger knee pain. So the weight gain itself didn't trigger pain. It's the change in how you move that may have triggered pain. And for the same rationale, I've known tons of people who've tried losing weight, who've lost 20, 30, 40 plus pounds, and their knee pain has only gotten worse or stayed the same.
Yeah, well, also because I'm thinking too, like a lot of times association with the pursuit of weight loss is also like training and exercise, and sometimes maybe overtraining. And, you know, I know even when I was playing sports as a kid, and even honestly, like I was obsessed with exercise in the pursuit of weight loss. I was very active. And then I thought like, okay, if I go home and exercise more, then I'm going to lose weight. Well, I had knee pain as early as like, I was 16. And it was not because I was overweight. It was because I was overtraining and also under eating, like you mentioned before, which is really popular, unfortunately, in the dance community. And that's kind of like the trend. So I'm curious from your perspective, or maybe the studies show it, I don't know. Like what are the usual root causes to like injury or pain? Are there specific things that usually often lead to a decrease in mobility or pain?
So this is really situational because it really depends, like, you know, person A, what is that person doing in their day-to-day life? Are they super active, playing a sport, or really aggressively going to the gym? And if so, what are they doing in the gym? What are they doing to prepare for the activity that they're about to do? What are they doing post-activity for recovery? What does their life actually look like? So to say that there's a specific cause to injury or pain, look, people step off the curb from a sidewalk into the street and they roll their ankle.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you know what I mean?
The other day, this was like, I was fine, but I was nervous. I went into a downward dog and like landed on my fingers wrong. And I could have swore like I like sprained a finger. I didn't. But in that moment, I was getting into a downward dog and I thought I broke my finger.
Right. So there you go.
What? Like, how did that happen? And fortunately I didn't, but I could have. And it's so true. You're right. You walk off this, you walk off the side of the curb and you could sprain your ankle for sure.
Exactly. So it's like there are many different kinds of causes to pain. And it's important to also realize that whatever happened to cause the pain, it is almost irrelevant. Because once you're in pain, we don't need to look back. We actually need to look forward and how do we get out of pain. So the mechanism of injury is good to understand if someone knows it. But again, if someone would have, like, this was an almost traumatic experience for you, right?
I was traumatized more because I was embarrassed. I was like, no, thankfully nobody saw it but myself, but it was like so weird. It was so weird.
Right. And things happen sometimes. But like what happens when you wake up in the morning and for no rhyme or reason, you can't turn your neck? Right now, usually
that's the worst.
It sucks.
There's no rhyme or reason for that? I'm like, I must have slept wrong or I must have whatever. Like stiff necks I've probably had twice in my life and it's so uncomfortable and so annoying.
Yeah. I mean, everybody gets it. No one's invincible. Even the best of the best, athletes, physical therapists, we all get them from time to time. But again, it's regardless of what made that happen, it's important to know what do we do from here and how do we get it better. So that's why I always say, like, it's good to know the past, but once we know as much information about the past as we can, like I get a lot of patients who ask me like, I did this and this. Do you think this is what could have caused my pain? And I always say, honestly, maybe, but at this point it doesn't matter. Because let's find out how to get you out of this pain, because that is what's more important here going forward. Right.
Well, because also too, like say it was maybe like lots of running, but maybe you're training for a marathon and it's really important to you. You're not going to, you could, but you don't want to if there's a way that you don't have to stop doing the thing that you love or the thing that you want to do and that's important to you, and you can find a way to be pain-free and do that thing, I think you're going to want to look for that thing. Or that exercise, right? Of
course.
Yeah.
We need the right protocol for us. Like, there's tons of like running drills. And while that's all great, like it's good to go through running drills, but it's also really good to kind of find out, okay, like what are my weak points? What are, I could be a great runner, but I can have, let's say, really weak ankles. Okay, well, how do we make sure that your ankles wrinkles don't become a problem? How can we strengthen your weak points?
Exactly.
That become your advantage? Like I have tons of people who come to me, not because they have pain, but because they want to prevent it. And they are some kind of form of athlete, whether it's a runner, a tennis player, a basketball player. And the concern is to prevent the actual injury from even happening. So you don't have to go through the rehab process. You just keep getting stronger, keep doing your thing.
Wouldn't it be great if we lived in a world where people actually valued prevention of care rather than treatment of care? Wouldn't that be awesome?
God, that'd be amazing. But you're talking about very provocative kind of conversations.
Yeah, I'm very provocative. Like, this is like, I'm probably going to get, I don't know, someone coming for me in my podcast. It's going down.
That's right.
But that would be really awesome and really cool. Anyways, with that being said, I'm curious, what are the most common bodily like injuries or pain like you see? Is there a common thread?
I mean, in office, I see a lot of neck and shoulder. And whether someone comes to me with a shoulder pain, it is automatically neck and upper back and mid back. And same with neck. If someone comes to me with neck pain, it's also automatically. So
how do I fix? Because I'm my right shoulder. This is my pillow. My pillow, guys, you can't see me right now. My pillow is my right arm. So I have consistent right arm pain, like consistent, but it's not painful where like I can't function in the day. But it's there. It's not as it's not loosey goosey like my left one. It's like stiff, and I can't break that habit. I sleep. That's how I sleep. I sleep on my shoulder is my pillow.
Perhaps you need to see a physical therapist, huh?
Well, maybe. But can you give me tips? Maybe I'll be a good student and I'll practice on my own. And then if it's not good, I will come in. I promise.
So there's a classic response, because I can have like 20 different follow-up questions for you right now, because
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it depends. Yeah. It's like my answer for everyone and everything. Yeah.
It depends, right? It's like if I want to increase my performance, what do I do? Okay, drink water, eat good food, and then sleep well. But how do we dive deeper into those three things, right?
Right. Yeah.
So this is kind of the same thing. And the shoulder is the most complex and most insane joint in your entire body. No other joint can do the shoulder can. In terms of its range of motion, nothing else. Like a close second is the hip, but even still, no joint can do what the shoulder can. And that is actually why it is the most prone to injury between for the actual shoulder complex and the neck. Which is interesting, because low back pain is the number one billed for musculoskeletal injury in the country. Which is that's the second other thing that I see a lot of is low back and hip.
Yeah.
I see a lot of those kinds of injuries too. And look, I've treated the low back by fixing the shoulder. I've treated the low back by working on someone's feet. Everything. Yeah,
I have heard that. I didn't realize it was. I heard the low back is usually like a weak core, right? Or is that possibly not? But it sounds like everything it's something like where the pain is. It's not the pain that you probably work on. Is that correct?
Yeah. So and this is the big thing also that people need to understand is that if you go to someone and you target and you try to take care of the symptom, right? Pain is a symptom. There's something causing that pain. Now it can be local, but it could also not be local. And about 95% of my patients who come to me have seen 2, 3, 4 other medical providers, whether it's purely physical therapists or a combination between PTs and chiros or other sports doctors. But they're still stuck with this pain months and years later, because people are just super hyper-focused on the location of the pain instead of understanding, where is this pain actually coming from?
Right.
And if you don't treat the cause of the pain, you're going to keep treating the symptoms. Tendinitis is a symptom. Bursitis is a symptom. Okay. These are classic.
What's bursitis? I actually don't know what that is. I know what tendinitis is.
Sure. So bursitis is essentially an inflammation or irritation of the bursa. Bursa are these little fat pads there's tons and tons of them all over the body. Pretty much it's anywhere where the muscle, as it goes into the tendon and attaches onto the bone, it's like a little cushion for where the tendon attaches into the bone so that the tendons don't rub on the bones. And it's for lubrication purposes. But if there's an irritation of the muscle on top of the bursa, that will cause inflammation or irritation of the bursa. Okay? So But again, that is a symptom. So if you don't treat the cause, people will continue to get bursitis. People will continue to get tendonitis. People will continue to get things like carpal tunnel. Right, carpal tunnel. That's a symptom of a problem. Right, we're not moving our wrists enough. We're not letting the nerves breathe. We're not letting the actual bones and
just talking to you. I'm moving my. I'm trying to be mindful that like. A lot of the because no, but it's true. You say that you say motion is lotion, right? Or you say movement is that motion is lotion. Like, elaborate on that for us, because I do feel that like often if I'm feeling any sort of pain or stiffness by moving, I somehow am able to like relieve a lot of that tension.
Yeah. So if you think about today's environment, most of us work in a seated job. Right, either behind the computer. I mean, like there's not really too many jobs where you're out and about. And even if you have a standing desk, because people think that, okay, I have a seated job. If I get a standing desk, this is going to solve all my problems. Well, it's not. It's going to give you a different set of problems. Yeah,
well, I did that during the pandemic. I did that. I had my standing desk. Now I'm sitting on it because it's adjustable. But then my feet were hurting me all day.
Right.
You can't win either way. I was like, this is really, it's rough either way.
Right. And so here's the secret, right? In our today's environment, we need to find ways on how can we take our job, whether we're standing or we choose to sit, and how can we change it so that you are in a better position or you just move more frequently. Right. There's so many things that you could do without even getting up from your desk. There's so many things you can do standing at your desk. But I ultimately do think like our bodies, we're meant to move. We're meant to run. We're meant to push. We're meant to pull. We're meant to twist. We're meant to bend our spine, extend our spine, twist our spine. Our body was designed to move this way.
Yeah.
And when you go against the design of the body and you don't give it that stimulation, right, for the same reason why it's so important to exercise or move, right? This could be smashing weights. This can be playing basketball. This can be going for a damn walk around the block. It does not matter. But when we give our body the stimulation it needs and get our muscles working and our joints moving, even if you don't go to the gym, but you have a nice strength and stability or mobility routine at home, great. That is what's going to help you to prevent pains, prevent injuries, and maintain healthy range of motion throughout all of your joints. Right? If you don't use it, you lose it. That is a real thing when it comes to the body. If you don't use your shoulders, you're going to lose the range and you're going to lose the freedom of them. So that's what really, like, if it was socially acceptable, I would tattoo motion as lotion on my forehead because it is so important to move the body. And again, you don't have to smash weights or go to the gym to do the traditional, form of exercise.
Even as you were explaining, like the way our bodies naturally move, like twisting, bending the spine, going one way, going the other. I thought of yoga because I think, you go into all these different positions where you're pushing, pulling, bending, strength, lengthening, I mean, and dances also does that too, but yeah, that's the thing. Like it can be a gentle movement and it can still, do a lot for your body.
As long as you enjoy the movement, right?
Yeah, that's one word. Yeah, most important for sure.
I love yoga. I love yoga as an idea and as a form of exercise and movement. I myself don't like to do it.
Yeah, I hear you. I've been out of practice. I used to do it more regularly, but it's been coming up for me more recently. I think it's time for me to like add it back in at least like once a week, but that's personal. But it's like for me, I don't love it, but I do love the way I feel after. Type of thing. So it's one of those where I think, sometimes it's something you need to add it as a practice for you for whatever reason, but, yeah. I wanted to ask you something and I forget what it was. It was a really good question too. Oh, I know. Basically, you mentioned before about people taking like pain medication a lot when they're in pain. And do you believe in like combining that with physical therapy? Because I have heard that if something is inflamed or irritated, that you need to get like I've heard like get the swelling down first, then work it. Like, is that true? And is medication part of that? Or like, what's your opinion on having, something like pop an Advil or Tylenol?
It depends. You're going to see this is going to be a constant recurring theme of our conversation. So I would say, look, like if you have an acute injury, so say like I stepped off the sidewalk today and I sprained my ankle. I hope I don't. Gosh, I hope I don't. But if I do and I sprain my ankle, and let's say it is super painful, okay, then I think Advil has its place. Painkillers do have their place. However, I do want to point out, when we have inflammation or swelling in the body, that is our body's natural response to healing. So if we're having swelling and we're getting rid of that swelling, well, then how is our body going to heal itself? Number one. Number two, I think it's less important to focus on the swelling and more important to focus on how can we get our body moving in to actually cycle off the swelling itself, like assist the body in getting rid of its own accumulation of fluid, right? So with acute injuries, I think Advil has its place, but I think for people who are suffering with chronic pain, that is where we need to start drawing the line, because you're actually doing more harm than good. You, by being in pain, then you pop a couple Advils, then let's say the pain decreases, let's say by 50%. And then you think, okay, finally, it's better. Okay, I'm going to go out and do this thing, or I'm going to go out and whatever activity that you're planning to do, because I see this all the time. And then while the Advil's in effect and you have less pain, you think that, okay, it's better. And psychologically, you start doing things that maybe if the pain was there, you wouldn't do, or you would do differently, because the pain is obviously a warning.
Right.
And then it's like once the Advil wears off, you're back into the pain, or the pain is worse. Right. So if we're talking about chronic pain, I would say we need to take care of the thing that's causing your pain, so that you don't need to take Advil, because also these painkillers over time, they're quite poisonous to the body. Oh yeah,
no, they destroy your gut microbiome. If it's chronic. It's okay to take it occasionally, but anything we do too much of, there's an imbalance somewhere, for sure.
Of course. There's time and place.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Oh God, I feel like I have so many things I want to ask. It's funny because as you were talking, I'm like, my shoulder really hurts. What do I do? No, really, right here.
Put your shoulders back.
Go put my shoulders back?
Yeah, but relax your arms. But
it was fun. This is what I was going to ask. I know what I was going to ask. Because I have been to physical therapy before for a lower back injury, maybe 2 years. Oh, so many questions. Now they're all coming back to me. Okay, so a couple of things. In physical therapy, they usually do use a little bit of like either heating pad. I could be wrong. I can't remember exactly my experience, but I like heating pads or cold ice or massage. Like, how do those things play into the healing process?
They don't.
Really?
We blow this out of the water right now. That is just straight up. Am I allowed to curse on here?
Yeah. If you're listening, if your kids are around, tell them to just like pause for a minute. Okay, go.
It's bullshit. Honestly, this whole
really.
Yes, this whole idea of hot pack, cold pack, massage, maybe some e-stim, those electric patches, getting some ultrasound done. That is all utter nonsense, malarkey. Bullshit, horrible.
My mind is blown. Mind is blown. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I love a good massage. So like, sure, massage me. Like, but like,
sure. Who doesn't?
Interesting.
But in terms of the pain, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, well, I think it relaxes the muscle. I think for me personally, like when I go, and I'm not even talking about like a physical therapy massage. I was before, but like when you go to physical therapy and they massage like that place or whatever. But I meant like, even when I go get massages, like to me, I feel like if I haven't been going regularly, but when I do go regularly, I feel so much better. But am I masking the root, do you think?
Well, I'm going to ask you a question. Like, whatever feels better, how soon before it starts to feel worse?
Oh yeah, well, but I think personally, I feel I know I don't foam roll enough, and sometimes I train pretty heavy. Okay. And so if I don't foam roll my hips, that's where my most chronic pain. Danny, you're going to treat me right now. Right now, my right hip is like a travesty. I'm gonna when we stop recording, I'm looking at the foam roller right now. I have it in my office. I barely ever use it. I'm going to do that. My right knee and my right shoulder. So my whole right side of the body is probably just misaligned.
Oh my gosh, there's another thing I'm going to totally blow your mind here with. And I just want to make a note. Isn't it funny? I told you the two things I treat the most is neck and shoulder and low back and hip pain.
Yeah.
And you have both. You have 2 out of 2.
Yeah, because like now it's just like, now I think I'm just like focused down. I'm like obsessing because now it does feel like it's going up into like the right back part of my neck.
Well, I told you, shoulder and neck are the same thing. But look, like in terms of the massage does feel good. And I'm not saying for people who like massages to stop getting them if you like them. But also,
I think they're a great self-care thing. Like to me, it does more for me. It helps me like relax. Like it helps me to like not look at my phone for an hour. Like it, like, you know, like it has its purposes in other ways to be cared for, you know? Yeah, there's like other purposes. But in regards to pain, go ahead, speak to that.
Yeah. So in that sense, like massage is very valuable. But in terms of pain, it's like, well, are we actually taking care of something? Like, what if we're relaxing something that doesn't need to be relaxed, but instead needs to be used to relax? Right?
Ooh, explain. What do you mean?
Right. So one of the best ways to release tight muscles, right? People say, oh, my hip flexor is tight, or my shoulder, or my neck, it just feels tight. And they think, okay, I need to stretch the bejesus out of it, or I need to get massaged the life out of it. And that's what's going to help. But it's actually funny because the best way to release those muscles and release that tension through there is to actually engage and use those muscles.
Really?
That is the best way to actually release tension through the muscles. And of course, it matters like, okay, like how do we release it? Do we hold it through an isometric contraction, meaning like, let's say we're using it and we hold it like where it's starting to, the muscles fatigue and you hold it through that position? Or do we make it more dynamic where you're focusing on a shortening and lengthening phase of a strengthening exercise for that muscle or area, whatever we're talking about? But many times when you start using, and you know how people say like, oh, I feel like my traps are so knotted up, or this feels like so super knotty. Yeah,
I feel like I have a knot here and there.
Right. I can't tell you how many times someone's come to me and said that, and they've said, I get a massage, my masseuse goes crazy on it. It feels really good for like a day or so, but then I feel that knot again come back. And then once we start actually using those muscles, suddenly, oh my gosh, where'd the knots go? They're gone, aren't they? You know? So it's really important to understand, like, what is the false belief that we have in terms of this thing will take care of this, but it actually doesn't, right? And for the same reason, what I say, like hot packs and cold packs and the PT massage that they give you for like 8 minutes and the stim pads, they don't do anything. And I'll tell you why they actually do those things in a moment. But actually, anatomically, physically, they don't actually do anything for you. And again, there's not only clinical experience because all my patients have been through this, but it's also, if you look at the research that's done of like, you know, let's say an electric unit versus a physical rehabilitation method where you're actually focusing on movement, the results are completely different. Mm-hmm. Right? It's much better to spend your time on the things that work instead of focusing on the things that are just don't really do anything, to be honest. Yeah. And the reason why these things are done is because that is the traditional health insurance method. Health insurance.
I was going to say, I feel like it has something to do with like filling up the time or something.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. It's a time filler. And then people are surprised when they've gone through months of therapy and they don't feel better. They've wasted copays, or more importantly, they've wasted time.
Yeah. That's the part. That's honestly, though, like that is the thing about physical therapy, that they expect you to, especially when something's like really bad, like they expect you to go like 3 to 4 days a week for like how hard it is to schedule that stuff in. You know,
it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. I've treated people who've had 15 years of pain within a matter of weeks.
Wow.
Within a matter of weeks, I've treated people who had 15 plus years of pain. Okay.
Wow.
Because I don't do these things. I get, again, our bodies are meant to move, and I'm going to get you moving. All right. I don't work with insurance plans, which also gives me the freedom to treat how I need to treat to make sure that I don't have to do the time fillers. All right. Also, when you come for a 10 o'clock a.m. appointment to most places, it's you and like 2 to 4 other people.
Right. Exactly.
That's why those time fillers are needed.
Right. Exactly. Because you have to manage other people. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
It's frustrating.
I'm sure it is. But I understand why. So it sounds like you went completely on your own. I don't take insurance either for my business as well, because it's just like, I don't want to be told how to do things, and it's a headache and a half, and it's whatever. But anyways, one thing we were talking about before we started recording, and I think it's important, is like, you get people moving again, but I think there's a big fear of, obviously, if you're injured, to move because you don't want to hurt it more. You were mentioning before you were recording, like, people have a lot of anxiety. So how do you help people kind of work through that?
Right. So great question. So let's say someone has low back pain, right? And this person who has low back pain is terrified of bending forward because they think their spine is going to crumble and break. All right, so we take emotion that is fearful, right? There's a difference between fear and anxiety. Fear makes you avoid movement. Anxiety, you'll go through the movement, but expect the worst possible outcome. Right? And both fear and anxiety play a different role in terms of your physical and mental well-being. Anxiety will actually play with the brain's pain levels, where if you have a high sense of anxiety in relation to movement, your brain's threshold for pain will actually be much lower, so that your pain signal will actually be higher, and your body will anticipate and actually produce pain from the brain because you have anxiety as it relates to movement, which is it's a fascinating thing. And it's one that I focus on as a very big part of rehab, in terms of just showing that the movement that is, that the person has anxiety with, or the movement that someone has is just straight up avoiding because they're so fearful of it, introducing them to micro movements that mimic the big movement that is either causing fear or anxiety. And in doing so, building up the confidence and having them be self-assured that, oh, I can actually do this and not have to be in pain or pay for it later.
Right.
And ultimately, if you do not focus, you as in from the provider standpoint, if the provider doesn't focus on pain as it relates to fear and anxiety, you will never have complete rehabilitation of a patient. Because if you don't focus on treating the fear and anxiety and getting rid of it, in addition to them getting stronger, more mobile and stable and everything like that, there will always be a level of doubt within the person. There will always be a level of fear, a level of anxiety, which can certainly play a role into the quality of life and, of course, the pain level. So, making sure that you can eradicate pain, fear and anxiety is crucial in getting people to feel better.
Definitely. Okay, one more thing in regards to, like, I think we just brought up, like, mental health and all the things. Have you ever found, do you work, when you're working with a patient and you maybe have done all the physical things with them, do you believe that there's any sort of like how people will say, like, trauma kind of comes up in the body? Like, do you believe in, like, referring out to helping them heal, like, from emotional trauma? And sometimes that's where this sounds a little like woo woo, but, like, honestly, I feel like a lot of times pain comes from past trauma that's being held down in the body. And so I'm sure physical therapy definitely helps with it, but I'm just curious on your take on that. I don't know if you've ever kind of addressed that or see that in patients.
Certainly. And actually, it's really interesting because I love where we are in today's society in terms of the shift towards taking care of your mental health. And actually, a lot of patients who have had previous traumas, regardless of they could be personal family traumas, it could be, there's different kinds of forms of trauma.
Right. It doesn't even have to be related to their body trauma, just trauma in general. Yeah.
Right. And they actually already come to me working with somebody.
That's great.
Else,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I love that. And I always, if I think that it would be beneficial for a patient to see someone else in addition to me or separate from me, right, I will certainly make that recommendation. Because I think mental health really does matter. Mental health plays into your physical health. You cannot have one without the other.
Exactly.
So, I 100% believe in that. I mean, listen, I come from a Soviet era family. My mom is from Russia. My dad grew up in Georgia, but his family's from Ukraine. And, in these kinds of cultures, it's very much like you stomach your pain, you shove it deep, deep down, You don't let anybody see you cry. You don't let anybody, you don't show anybody emotion. You don't acknowledge that there's a problem.
Right.
That's not how it's supposed to be.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you pathetic. It doesn't make you any less of a person. Like, you need to acknowledge any kind of trauma, any kind of mental blockage that you have to anything, whether it's recent or not, and you need to fight with it. You need to fight it head on and to help conquer it. So, I mean, mental health is massive when it comes to physical health, and that's why also another big part, at least from my end, I really try to pump each and every single session, fill it up with positivity, reinforcement of good behaviors, good beliefs. And the same thing I try to do on social media. I try. That's why I do the dancing. It's in a way.
Yeah, it's so great.
Right?
But it's just great. It gets your attention, and then you're in. And then, like, a lot of the things, the tips you provide are so, like, realistic and easy. Like, I'm going to do this, the whole, you guys can't see, I'm, like, pulling my shoulders back. I'm going to practice this regularly, and I might have to come in for a consultation because I really am a mess right now. I'm like, literally, as I'm talking, I'm like, well, I didn't realize my whole right side is completely in pain.
Benefits of talking to a PT. Start to realize what is actually going on within my body.
Yeah, like, actually paid attention to it. Oh my God. Anyways, this has been so great. So we mentioned your Instagram a couple times. So please let people know where they can follow you, and then reach out to you if they have any other questions.
Sure. So you can follow me on Instagram at official Danny Shapiro. On TikTok, it's just at official muscle whisperer. And if you are from New York or Florida, whether you're local to Brooklyn or Manhattan or not, I work with tons of people virtually all over New York State, all over Florida. If you want to get more information, if you want to schedule a free 30-minute session, you can go to my website, projectphysicaltherapy.com. Click the link to get there's a little section there where you can get a free 30-minute session. We can sit down and chat before we even decide to move forward. It's totally free. You get to meet me, and I'll introduce you to all of my crazy ideas. And I can't wait to meet you and talk to you about how we can get you to feel your absolute freaking best.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Awesome. Danny, thank you so much for being here. It was so great. Guys, make sure you give him a follow. Take a screenshot of this episode, share it on your story, and tag me at tips_with_Tony with an I, and also tag Danny as well. And yeah, if you're not subscribed to the Tips with Tony podcast, make sure you hit that subscribe button. A new episode comes out every Tuesday and Thursday. And when you're subscribed, you don't miss a beat. As always, this is Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.